Hello, everyone. Salim Omar here from the Straight Talk About Small Business Success podcast. I've got a special guest for us today. His name is John Ostenson. John, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I love the show and excited about our conversation today.
Awesome. Great. And I'm also joined by my co-host, Rodney Dillow. Rod, welcome.
Thank you for having me again today, Salim.
Awesome. Great. So I'm going to quickly go over John's background. He is the foremost expert on the fast-growing world of non-food franchising, having experience as an Inc. 500 franchisor, a multi-brand franchise, a franchise investor, author, and consultant. John has a passion for educating and supporting others as they explore business opportunities. He is the top 1% national franchise broker, investor, author, international speaker, specializing in the area he has coined as non-food franchising. He has served as a president of an Inc. 500 franchise system, and now as a multi-brand franchisee himself, John is uniquely positioned to educate others on franchising and franchise selection. John, you've got, a very colorful and varied, diverse background. Tell us a little bit about your backstory. What are some key points in your life? What brings you to where you are here today?
Yeah, absolutely. No, my background is similar to a lot of those in your audience. I had been in the corporate world for a number of years and did that whole ladder climb, got to do some neat things along the way. But it was about 6 years ago that I stepped away from the public company sphere to lead a private company, and that was Shelf Genie franchise system. And custom pull-out shelving for kitchens and pantries, and had this opportunity to support owners across North America every day in their businesses. And for me, that was really a pivotal moment, and it was eye-opening just to see this world that hadn't really been on my radar prior to that. And I saw how franchising day in, day out really served, those that were desiring business ownership. And I'd associated franchising with fast food, as so many do. And I realized there are a lot of other avenues out there, and frankly, ones that are more desirable to the majority, from a capital investment standpoint, from not having inventory or large teams in a lot of scenarios. And so anyway, have traveled down that path. And with my partners, we've invested in franchises ourselves. And fortunately, we have good people running those for us, as do many of my clients. And it allows me to spend about 90% of my time working with a couple hundred franchise brands that we represent, and helping to play matchmaker. Over 90% of our clients end up with a business, and oftentimes in an industry that was not on their radar previously. So it's a lot of fun to help them, peel back the onion and then turn that light bulb on, and then see the success afterwards.
Yeah. Now, non-food, you use the word non-food. Yeah. And franchising is hot. You do non-food, you work with non-food franchise, in those industries. Who's buying? Why are they buying? And what are they buying?
Yeah, I think coming out of COVID, more and more people are questioning the path that they're on, and saying maybe now's the time to make the jump into business ownership. But a lot of times they don't know where to start. And about half of our clients are looking to go full time. The other half are looking for semi-absentee or executive models, as we would call them, where essentially you put a general manager in from day one and they run the day-to-day operations for you, which sounds great. We all know it's never perfectly, entirely easy. I mean, you're still have to get someone involved in the business, from time to time. But we see both models today, and it is a wide range. I mean, we've done deals year to date with those from their 20s through their 60s, but I'd say, we see quite a few in their late 30s, 40s, early 50s that, really don't have that desire to go work for someone else. They realize the grass isn't always greener, and they've always had that desire to maybe start a business and haven't known where to start. We also see more cash on the sidelines than ever before, and interest rates are still fairly low. So, from an SBA lending standpoint, from a diversifying your portfolio standpoint, there's a lot of reasons why people are getting into it. But no, there are roughly 4,000 franchise brands out there. I'd say half of those are in non-food categories. Things like home and property services, automotive, anything supporting health and wellness, or kids, or pets, or the aging population. All those areas that in most cases are somewhat recession resistant. People will always spend on what they love. And in a lot of cases, it's pandemic resistant or Amazon resistant. So, those are some of the keys that I find clients looking for these days.
John, I mean, what are some of the pros and the cons of starting a franchise versus maybe starting a company from scratch?
Yeah, I'll start out with the con. I think for some of my clients, they're too entrepreneurial. They don't want to stay within the lines. It is interesting. A lot of our clients are existing business owners and they're looking to diversify or maybe buy a business that complements their current portfolio. And they love the idea of not having to recreate the wheel and start from scratch. They've been there, done that. On the pros side, I would say, you have a playbook. Day one, you're not questioning product market fit. It's been proven out. You've just got to go execute against that playbook. You've got a coach on the sidelines in that franchisor, and the better you do, the better they do. So they're supporting you. Oftentimes it goes overlooked, but you've got owners in other markets that are walking through the same things you are and testing different marketing vehicles or figuring out where to hire the best talent. And so you're able to exchange a lot of best practices. Also, this is really interesting. You're building a cash flow, you're able to write off expenses as a business owner, but then really the third piece behind the financial situation is that exit. And there was a study done recently by the Rinker School of Business that looked at 2,000 business transactions over a 10-year period in like-kind industries, both franchised and non-franchised. They found that franchise businesses trade at a multiple on average 1.5 times non-franchise. So again, that value when you go to resell is seen out there in the market. So those would be some of the benefits. And I'd also say, just from a transparency standpoint, you don't have to rely on a back of the napkin envelope approach to a pro forma going in. Instead, you're able to review the item 19 of the FDD, the franchise disclosure document. Every franchise system has one. So you're able to see what are those historical averages of other owners in the system. You're able to do what we call validation, talking to other owners before you buy, to hear about their experience. So you get a lot of really good data inputs to really help set you up for success, making sure that you're making the right decision.
Thank you.
How can franchises be run as passive or semi-passive businesses?
It's really setting up a general manager from day one. And I've got plenty of case studies of clients of mine that have been able to do that successfully. I've personally done that. I mean, I spend about 10% of my time on a weekly basis on the businesses, the franchises that we're invested in. It comes down to having the right person leading the business, the day-to-day operations. We all know that if you don't have the right GM, you have to replace that GM. But we do have a client that has started coaching our clients, and we fund a couple of calls with him. And he's, his case, he's done this successfully time and time again. He's the largest franchisee of 2 Men and a Truck moving service, operates out of 10 markets, based in Columbia, South Carolina. His name's Nathan Bocock, and Nathan, it's a $30 million plus business that he runs. But he and I have done a number of deals together where he'll put a young general manager over the day-to-day operations. He'll align them, incentivize them, and say, hey, go make us proud. And in every case, he's come back and bought additional locations within the first year. So he's had a really good track record. So he's now coaching my clients to help them understand, here's where you find the best GMs, here's how you set them up for success. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how I would see it playing out.
Got it. Yeah. And the cash flow, the numbers, the financials, they allow bringing in a GM. There's enough volume.
They do. And every franchise system isn't cookie cutter. It's not all created equal, but we've done, I'll give an example. We recently did 3 deals with a gutter business, $6 billion industry. You don't think about it oftentimes till you need to, but it's just a great environment, great culture, great financials. And I had a Wall Street attorney outside of Boston purchase. I had an insurance team of 2 brothers, backgrounds in insurance in South Carolina. They purchased. Had a corporate marketing guy in his early 50s that just purchased. And what's attracting them to the gutter business? They don't have any background in it, but they love the financials. And so in that case, and this is a good example of, other businesses that could fall into this bucket, but all in investment, they're kind of in the 150 to 200 range. One used his retirement plan and self-directed that to purchase. Another one used an SBA loan. The third one paid cash out of pocket. So those are kind of 3 different scenarios they went about funding it. But the average franchisee in that gutter system is doing 1.2 million in revenue with a 31% EBITDA margin. So after all expenses paid, they're pocketing, 350 plus. And, in two of the cases, they're running it full time. And in one case, they're running it semi-absentee or executive model.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Why are real estate investors a great fit for franchising?
Yeah, I'd say more than half of our clients do have real estate investment holdings. And, I'd say it's two things. One, I think it's the overall mindset, the idea of creating passive or semi-passive revenue streams. Oftentimes that aligns with how they're thinking. And second, it's really that portfolio approach and the fact that there are a lot of businesses that do complement real estate. And so, we just had a real estate broker that has a fairly large firm buy a property management franchise. He said, instead of starting from scratch, I'd rather start on third base instead of first base, just get to profitability faster. Especially when he's not running the day to day. If he has a general manager running that business for him, knowing that they're being supported by the franchisor, that there's other sets of eyes on the business is really comforting to him. But no, some other examples kind of that relate to real estate. We just had a client back in the fall purchase a roll-off dumpster franchise. We talk about Amazon resistant, recession resistant right there. They're now expanding into other markets. Have just had a ton of success. It's businesses like ServPro or insulation or businesses you don't think of, but there's great cash flow involved in those. So I think there are a lot of parallels and synergies that we've seen firsthand. I mean, I personally am a real estate investor myself, and yet I love having a diverse portfolio of both real estate, and frankly, there aren't that many great real estate deals to be had right now, but then also the franchises.
What are the financials of franchising? What the cost, revenues, and the profit potential?
Yeah, I'd say probably 75% of the deals that we do fall between $125,000 to $300,000 from an investment standpoint. With kind of the median being around that 150 to 200 spot, and that's an all-in investment. That includes your franchise fee, any vehicles or equipment, or potentially a small retail build out. What are those costs? And then in that estimate too, it would include working capital for 3 months. Most franchisors in their item 7 of their FDD, where they disclose kind of here's our all-in investment range, they'll include 3 months of working capital for your marketing expenses, personnel expenses for this starting out of the gate. So that's kind of what we see on the investment side. On the return side, it's across the board, but I'd say it really is eye-opening to a lot of our clients when they realize, hey, if I'm getting a 20 to 30% EBITDA bottom line, and then you extrapolate, you put that over your all-in investment, I mean, you can really get some high returns along the way with the cash flowing, as well as then upon the exit down the road.
Yeah, interesting. What is the profile of a client of yours, John? You mentioned there, the age group from 30s to the 60s. They seem to be, professionals, or that's you mentioned the attorney and so forth. What's the mental profile, the psychographics? I mean, who are they as people? Are there some people that do well in a franchise system versus starting their own business than others?
Yeah, I'm a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, and within that, I've got some clients that have sought me out that I have to tell, hey, you're too entrepreneurial. You don't want to stay within the lines. Now, at the same time, I have some of these business owners in there that say, hey, I love the idea of not having to start from scratch. And, I've been in business by myself before. I'd rather, be in business by myself, but not, or for myself, but not by myself, with that franchisor support. So, a lot of folks have that corporate background where they're saying, hey, I've always wanted to be a business owner, but I don't know where to start. And so we see a lot of that. And there's some degree of hesitancy and nervousness. And I do think a franchise is oftentimes a better fit for them because, again, you're not all in on your own. We have others, like I said, that are business owners that like the idea of, being able to build out that portfolio and complement the core business they've already built. We've got clients that have bought multiple franchises before and come back and bought additional ones to diversify or again, complement. So I'd say, there's probably some inherent fear. I mean, that's very normal for anyone starting a business. And we certainly see that as well. But I think for a lot, once they get to know the franchisor and understand the kind of support they receive from their team, it alleviates a lot of the fear. Of course, we have some clients that, never get up to the diving board. We have some that walk to the end and choose not to jump. And then we have, quite a few that do take the plunge. But I think once they are educated a little bit more going in, then they realize franchising oftentimes makes sense.
Yeah. Being in business for 25 years myself, and having worked with, thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, people underestimate the challenges of sustaining a successful business, and having a system. And that's what the franchising is. It's a system that's been tested. Coming from an entrepreneur, I mean, I don't undervalue what that brings to the table, how powerful that is, how useful that is to an entrepreneur, or to somebody who's looking to start a business.
Getting your ducks in a row really helps. I mean, that's the thing, is that checklist of things to do and finances to make sure everything's aligned, because that's one of the hardest pieces. So, I mean,
absolutely. No, it's a system, it's a playbook, but I was just telling a client this morning, there's this great system right now. And to kind of go back to the property services example, it's a fencing business. Well, they've got Home Depot as a national account. And so they're constantly getting leads, estimate appointments and installs from Home Depot. As a result, I mean, the numbers on this business are just amazing. And then they also do a lot of the manufacturing in-house of the fences. They're able to provide a 20 to 30% savings. They also have the largest buying power of any fence company out there. So oftentimes you're working in these fragmented markets against mom and pops, but you're coming in, and it may or may not be a recognizable brand, day one, but it's in growth mode, and you've got the marketing dialed in. It's been tested. In some cases, maybe a call center, the technology, on the back end. You're able to bring a white collar approach to a blue collar industry oftentimes. Mm-hmm. And the case of the fence business, I mean, and this is not indicative of average. I mean, this is really amazing. All in investment, you're kind of in that 150 to 200 range. Their average first year revenue is 1.7 million. Average second year is 2.8, and third year is 3.8. And that's at a very healthy margin. If you go out and start a fence business, you're not going to get to those numbers because you don't have the lead generation, you don't have the manufacturing dialed in. And so it's just an example of how franchising from a bulk buying standpoint, from a national account standpoint, and then of course the best practices in the playbook, how it all comes together to really provide that value, which as a franchisee, you are paying a royalty stream of revenue to the franchisor. So you always question, what are those benefits and the support that I'm getting for that? And does it outweigh what I'm paying? In that case, I would say it does.
Yeah. Wow, this is so good. And I'm looking at my clock. We are running close to finishing up. A couple more questions, John. How can individuals select the right franchise?
Well, you can certainly Google around and do your own research. And, I would just caution that in doing that, you're going to see the best foot forward from these different franchise systems. You'll see all their marketing materials. You won't really understand what's going on behind the scenes. And so what I find is most people do come through a consultant such as us. And, we feel like we do a pretty good job. We stay active out there. And with us, we've got, first off, it's entirely free. So we never get paid a nickel by our clients. The franchisors on the back end, provide us with funding. For them, it's a sales and marketing expense, and none of that ever gets passed on to our clients in any fashion at all. So it's a great model from my standpoint, very clean. But what we do is we take clients through a very streamlined process that we've seen work time and time again of getting to know them, asking the right questions. And then we take their feedback, their market, look at what's available. We compare it to what's resonating with so many others across the US and across North America. And then based on our relationships with the franchisors and understanding, what can be that best fit for what they're looking to do, the role they're looking to play in the business, the financial investment, all those different factors, we then present 7 to 8 opportunities on average to our clients, take them through those. They select 2 or 3 to then engage with. It can be an iterative process. They can get on a call with the franchisor, decide it's not for them. We'll drop that. We'll bring back another one. And so we take them through the process and really hold their hand, helping them think through the funding side, the legal side, also serving as a sounding board through it. And we've been very fortunate to have a great success rate. I think we've only had one client that's ever not worked out, and there was a good reason as to why it didn't.
Wow, very impressive, man. I mean, if I was looking to invest in a franchise, I mean, your service makes a lot of sense. Good stuff. Rod, you've got a question or two?
Yeah. Well, I think I have one here. And this is kind of, what is the question we should have asked you, but we didn't?
Yeah, I think where franchising's moving and, just kind of what the current environment is. I mean, we hit on it, but I'd say, we are seeing more interest than ever before. It is competitive out there. Good opportunities are going really fast in good markets. In most cases, I am positioning my clients against other candidates. Fortunately, we have those relationships with the franchisors where we can usually make it work out. But I'm constantly fighting to get my clients at the front of the line, get them on the radar of these great opportunities sooner than later. So lots of activity out there. I don't see it slowing down. So it's an exciting time to be in franchising.
Quick follow-up. I mean, because I know a lot of times franchises are geographically, like they do not place. So are you seeing a fill up in certain ones, or like a prime locations coming off the board? Is that something that's happening?
Yeah, there's certainly markets, and it really aligned with what we see in the national headlines. I mean, people moving to the South largely. I mean, Florida goes quickly. Markets like Charlotte, Raleigh, Nashville, Atlanta, Dallas. I mean, those are as hot as anywhere, Phoenix, But that being said, we are still doing a lot of deals in New York and California, states that may be a little more difficult to do business in. So certainly not all in, just in those other states, but no, we're seeing it across the board. We really are. There's 14 registration states where it takes a little bit longer for franchise systems to get all set up and be able to go through all the filings. Some of it's Washington, California, New York, Illinois, some of the usual suspects. And so for those, oftentimes they may still have openings, once they come available down the road. But by and large, it's where we see people moving and where there's a lot of economic activity. And I'd say as an American, I mean, it's encouraging. You hear a lot of negative news out there, but I mean, small businesses are alive and well, and entrepreneurship, which I think is what drives our country. So I'm encouraged at what I see every day.
That's awesome. Yeah. If listeners want to reach out to you, what's the best place for them to do that? What's the best way to do? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say as a first step, come out to our website, sign up, framebridgeconsulting.com, sign up for our monthly newsletter. We put out some great content, I believe. We get good feedback there. And we have a book coming out in Q3 that we're really excited about, that kind of articulates even further what we talked about today. And so if you sign up for our newsletter, we'll make sure you get a copy of the book as well for all of your listeners. In addition, if this is something you're interested in exploring a little bit further, happy to share resources, happy to jump on a brief call and kind of talk through your situation and see if it might be a fit. Also, the primary social platform where we put out new content on a daily basis would be LinkedIn. So connect with me personally on LinkedIn, and hopefully we can share some great content with you that'll be helpful.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Thank you so much, John. This was really very useful, very informative. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me on. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, John.
Thanks everyone for listening to this. Have a good day.